Yes, I am, I would say, a survivor of the genocide because my grandparents were refugees in Aleppo. My parents were born in Aleppo, and I was born in Lebanon. But today, I was asked to tell stories. I am not going to tell the story of my Armenian family. I will tell the story of the rest of the family that I discovered along the years I've spent in this work. I want to talk to you first about Iraq, where I'm based now in Mosul, dealing with the Iraqi displaced fleeing the war in Mosul. The photo that you're seeing is in one of the shelters inside Mosul, where children and women had to wait for a number of days until the fighting stopped a little bit, and then they were able to move to safety. This reminds me of my childhood in Lebanon, because we spent the 80s, I'm still young, not as old as Eric is, and we spent our childhood in the shelters. We didn't have camps in Lebanon, we were at home, but we were in the shelters. These kids did not spend that much time in the shelters, luckily, but they are now in camps around Mosul that we've built to host them. And these kids have lost years of education. There was ISIS schools in Mosul where many families refused to send their children there because they were taught horrible things at their young age. They are now competing over the little space left in the Iraqi school that are still operating in Mosul after ISIS left Mosul and the Iraqi government took over. Now, I want to tell you a little bit that their march reminds me a lot about the stories I've heard. This is a group of Turkmen women who fled Tel Afar. And for those of you who know Iraq, Tel Afar is west of Mosul. We hosted them recently in a camp in front of the Nemrud ruins. The Nemrud ruins are very well known, and you might have heard in the media how ISIS destroyed those ruins. There's a little bit of leftovers from those ruins. Across the road from the Nemrud ruins, we were forced to build a camp to host those fleeing Tel Afar. But I want to emphasize on this lady. She's my auntie of non-Armenian descent. Her name is Talia. She's about 75. She doesn't know her exact age. This is a photo I took of her. I think it was the first day they had arrived, and we had assigned a tent. And she was very smiley, so I waved, then approached her. I said, "Auntie, can we talk a little bit?" And then she became my auntie in the camp. Now, I've been away from Iraq for the past 2 weeks, so I got WhatsApp messages from her daughter scolding me for being away for too long. So I have, my homework to do when I'm back to go and tell her, pass the apologies for being away for too long. She has 10 grandchildren, 6 children. All what she wants is to go home. But this is her home now. And this also reminds me a little bit about what we learned in our history. Her house was occupied by ISIS, and then they looted and bombed the house before they left. She told me this was the house that she got married into, and then over the years, the entire family was living there. So for her hope for the future, her hope for the future is to actually go back and rebuild her home. That is not possible if we don't provide assistance, because they don't have the funds. It took them around 40 years to build this house. They don't have the funds to do it on their own. So part of our work is to actually help them rebuild their homes so that they can return. So for the Iraqis, the solution is them going home, rebuilding their schools, rebuilding their institutions. We can't do that without everyone's support. So if one thinks what you can do, you can support. You can financially support so that these families return. I want to take you now to Jordan, where I was based before I went to Iraq. I was managing a camp called Zaatari Camp that you might have heard of. This shows a little bit the evolution of Zaatari Camp. Everyone thought that Zaatari Camp was going to last for a few weeks and that people would return. The Syrians themselves who are there, fleeing the war across the border, they told us, don't build a camp, we want to go home. The problem will be solved in a matter of weeks. And unfortunately, problems don't get solved most of the time in a matter of weeks. And Zaatari has now become a city of 80,000 people, Syrian refugees, fleeing Dar'a mostly. And their hope is to go home. There's an ongoing debate about refugees in the world. I can assure you that most refugees want to go home, and they do go home. And all they need is you helping them where they are until the time comes when there's peace and for them to return. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about Feiruz, who lives in Zaatari Camp. Feiruz is a sister of mine, of non-Armenian descent. Feiruz is a teacher in Zaatari Camp. And I also get scolded by Feiruz on WhatsApp because I've left Jordan for 9 months now, and she says, when are you coming next? Feiruz's story is a little bit different. I met Feiruz because I met her son Amjad in a bakery in Zaatari Camp. And Amjad was thinking about fleeing into Syria, back into Syria, where there's war, so that he can go and join his father and his other brother, who moved to Germany during the events. So they left Zaatari. The whole family had come to Zaatari. The father and one son decided to leave. They took the perilous journey across Turkey, Syria, Turkey, Greece, and onto Germany. I advised Amjad not to go, saying the journey is very dangerous. But Amjad didn't listen to me. Maybe he was right. Amjad now, after spending a year in Turkey, he is now in Germany. He joined his father and brother. Now, this is right before I left for Iraq, at Feiruz's house. Feiruz is pleading now for her to join her family in Germany. And that is very difficult. It's a long legal process. But this reminds us of the importance of having open borders, the importance of helping these vulnerable families get together, because all what they want is a better future for their children. So her plight is education for the children in Zaatari Camp. Her plight is work permits for refugees in Jordan, which Jordan actually provided. But her individual plight is that she reunites herself with her family. Now, I want to take you to another place in the world. This is in Tunisia in 2011. If you recall the events in 2011, there was a war in Libya, and there was a mass exodus of 64 different nationalities fleeing Libya. It was something I had never seen before. We had, at any given time, 32 different nationalities in this camp. It was quite a social experiment to organize food distributions for 32 different nationalities. This camp saw a lot of suffering. The camp was attacked in May 2011. We were held hostage for a few hours, and then we escaped, but those who attacked the camp burnt it to the ground, looted it, and killed a number of refugees. The next day, we were forced to rebuild the camp with the same people who destroyed it. It caused a great deal of trauma to everyone, and trauma is something that we work on with the Iraqis, with the Syrians, with all the different nationalities. People who flee war are traumatized, and we need to invest in making their lives better. It's a very difficult experience for children, specifically. In this camp, I met a gentleman who is now here with me. Abrazak, can you join me, please?
Baref. Hi, my name is Abdulrazak Ali. This incredible person. You guys have good luck to meet my friend Hovig. If I share with you a little bit of who I am, I'm originally from Somalia, and I left Somalia when I was 16. I lived in the biggest refugee camp in Yemen, which called is Al-Gharas. It doesn't work for me. I moved to different refugee camp in Sudan, which called the Shagrab, and it doesn't work for me. And I moved to the third one, which I met this incredible man, Hovig. All that movement, I was chasing a dream. I was 14 when I said one day I will go to Los Angeles, California, and I joined Hollywood and make movies. My friends, they asking me, how that gonna possible? And do you have a way to go there? I said, I don't know how, but I'm gonna go there. It takes to me 15 years to get here. And when I came here, I'd never give up. I started putting together my production company, which called the Ubuk, which that means is love for the world. And my tagline, I use the word making the global local. And what I'm representing, since I have empirical knowledge about the refugee, I'm not representing Somali or black or white. I'm representing a refugee. And one time I remember somebody asking me, what's a refugee? And I said, refugee is not an identity, but it's living with the moment. And I'm gonna give back to my friend. He have more to say, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Abdulrazak. My time is up. Abdulrazak was resettled from Tunisia through our UNHCR resettlement program in 2013 after living for 2 years in Shusha camp. So we met there. His English has improved ever since. I'm going to leave you with just a few things to think about. What can be done? What can you do? First, care. We need to care about issues so that we can do something about it. There's a lot to be done here for those people in need, and we shouldn't forget that in every country you have people in need, and so if you care, you start here. I see a lot of homeless people in LA. I was walking around and I was told there's a homelessness issue here. So I think caring is important. Doing something for your community here is very important. You can also donate to all the different humanitarian agencies that are working. And you can also lobby. You can talk about the importance of fighting racism, fighting xenophobia, tolerance. And remember that every one of you can make a difference in people's lives if you really truly want to. Thank you very much.